There are a lot of great managers in football right now, and there's an emerging generation of younger coaches making a strong case for being ranked among the elite. Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp and Carlo Ancelotti are all household names, but let's take a look at the coaches around the world who are hot on their heels. Hello and welcome to Football Now. On this week's episode of the show, we're taking a look at some of the managers who are making a name for themselves around the world. Last week we looked at some of the rising stars within Europe. Now it's time for us to go international to see who exactly is catching the eye. It's fair to say that European football is the pinnacle for managers and players alike. However, breaking into one of those top 5 leagues from outside the continent can be really difficult. In fact, only 12 managers born outside of Europe have ever coached in the Premier League. So why is it so difficult to get a seat at the table?
I think there are a few reasons behind this. I think one of them is, first of all, the qualification process. So you've got the AFC licenses and the UEFA licenses. AFC recognizes UEFA licenses, whereas I don't think UEFA at this point actually recognizes AFC licenses to the same level. The other thing you could look at is also languages, and whether coaches themselves are willing to sort of step out. Let's say you've got a top Japanese coach, someone like a Toru Oniki, for example, whether he's actually willing himself to go over and try his luck somewhere in, England, or whether they are quite comfortable in their own countries. They're successful there. Let's say in J-League, they're successful, they're winning titles, they're pretty comfortable in those moments. So perhaps there isn't quite that push or that desire to go overseas to try their luck. Another thing could be just a lack of familiarity. Teams in Europe aren't quite sure about their backgrounds, so they'd rather go with known quantities, go with coaches that they're familiar with. So I think those are just some of the reasons as to why it's sort of difficult really to step out and make that big push into Europe.
In Africa, Rulani Mokwena has recently been appointed the coach of Wydad Casablanca, having won the inaugural African Super League with the South African club Mamelodi Sundowns last year. No list would be complete without mentioning Ivory Coast manager Emers Faye. The French national played for Côte d'Ivoire for 7 years before moving into management and brought glory to the nation by winning the 2023 African Cup of Nations, despite only taking charge of the team midway through the tournament.
One thing I can say about Emers Faye, I think he brought it to togetherness within the squad. But like the Ivory Coast squad, it was in disarray at the start of the tournament. I was lucky to be in Abidjan for the whole tournament, so I saw it firsthand. Because the football didn't really change. I think it was the togetherness with the country, the players, and they all came together for one cause and ultimately got it done in the end. So Emers Faye is one to look out for because especially now, I think Ivory Coast are a good team. They're one of the powerhouses of Sub-Saharan Africa. And when we see them in the World Cup, we'll see Emers Faye there as well. And that will help them in a sense because Ivory Coast have got a lot of good youngsters coming up. If Emers Faye can be the manager that sees these players goes on to have a good tournament, other countries will start looking at him or either other clubs start looking at him because there's a massive lack of African coaches especially in the top 5 leagues.
Let's take a look at Asia. Singapore's Gavin Lee is only 33 years old but works simultaneously as manager of Singapore Premier League club Tampines Rovers and as the assistant coach of the Singapore national team. Over in Japan, Makoto Hasebe has recently retired after spending 10 years playing for German team Eintracht Frankfurt. He earned the respect of the club and the fans, so much so that he was automatically offered a spot on the managerial side. He is now working with the club's under-21 team. No Asian manager has ever taken charge of a notable European club. Could Hasebe be the one to break the trend?
Well, first of all, he was a top professional as a player, and Eintracht Frankfurt sort of gave him a contract. Essentially, it was a rolling contract, an extension year on year, and then they wrote into it there as well that if you want a coaching job, it's yours. So he's going to be coaching the under-21 level, but he still has a lot to prove. The club is familiar with Hasebe, what kind of qualities he brings as a person. He knows German football. He spent most of his career there, and now he wants to step into that world of coaching. And he's in the right environment. He's going to get the right sort of support, and he's a different case to a lot of these coaches.
Well, given Argentina's raging success on the international stage, it's really easy to forget that their coach Lionel Scaloni is only 46 years old. Early days then when it comes to his managerial career, but he does know European football inside out, having played for clubs in Spain, Italy and England. There's still plenty of road ahead of him when it comes to management, but just how impressive are his achievements to date?
Argentinian football was in a crisis when Scaloni took over, and again, he was only meant to take over in the interim. It was just an interim appointment, it was just meant to be a few games. They won those few games, and then eventually he led them to a Copa America and then a World Cup and a Copa America. It's not easy to, I think, handle a group even as talented as Argentina, and Scaloni has got it right. He's made big calls as well when he needed to. There's very few managers that I can think of that have won multiple continental titles and a World Cup, and to do it at such a kind of young age. And also, he doesn't really seem that he wants the limelight. He rarely kind of puts himself forward. He's not the special one or the lucky one or whatever. He just goes about it quietly, and Argentina are all the better for it.
Yes, it's tough to break into European football from other areas of the world, but keep an eye on the coaches that we think have great potential. Let us know who you think should be on our list using the hashtag #FootballNowInternationalCoaches. That's all we've got time for from our studio here in Doha. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.